So you probably can't see it, but it's actually pouring outside. So sorry if you see my hair a little wet. Every single successful founder or product manager that I've worked with, from 50,000 people companies to 200 or 20 people startups as well, has had this one habit in common. And no, before you start thinking about it, it's not road mapping or sprint planning or writing better product requirement documents. It's not that. It's something way more simpler and way more powerful. Anyone can do it. So I had never actually worked in startups until I was 25 years old. I think that's when I started working with them. And before that, my experience had always been with bigger companies, with employees, 20,000 plus employees, 50,000 plus employees, and sort of like more structure. And with this startup, I was actually the youngest member on the team. I remember they were very apprehensive about hiring me because I came from a big company culture, and they weren't sure I could move as fast as a startup needs to, right? With bigger companies, there's a lot of rules to follow. With startups, you need to survive the next month, right? There might not be a next month if some wrong decisions get made. So it's sort of like a different game. So I had no idea what I was doing. I was a product manager. I was overcomplicating things. I was spending hours setting up meetings, making my docs really pretty, overthinking every single decision, trying to create structure with every little thing that I was doing. And I remember my CEO one day just pulled me aside and said, Sully, you're smart, but you're not listening. And that stuck with me, right? That's all he said. What does that actually mean? Not listening. And we talked a little bit about it, and it turns out it stemmed from something as simple as curiosity. I was not curious enough. I was trying to create structure where it wasn't needed. I was trying to solve problems that didn't need to be solved. I didn't even know about problems that could have been solved better because I was not curious enough. That's what he meant. Like, listen more, be more curious. And since that day, I started setting a buffer every morning to either read some sort of a customer message, explore a click funnel, see where users clicked in our product, where they didn't click, or just curiously go down a rabbit hole to sort of see how a different part of the business operates, even though it might not be related to me. And curiosity made me eventually ask better questions because I was learning more and more. I was building that muscle of uh, of intuition of what the customer needs, which is what the product management, what the CEO, what the starter job is, right? You need to have a muscle for what your customer wants. It shouldn't be something you need to think about. And so this is where I think I started becoming a problem finder, not a problem solver, right? Both are important, but you cannot solve um, for the wrong problem. Like if you find the wrong problem, doesn't matter if your solution is great, it'll still be a wrong solution. So some proof of this actually is with Airbnb, right? Like they were constantly curious, like why won't people stay in other people's houses and random people's houses, right? It was a crazy concept at the time. Um, and then they realized, oh wait, this is a solvable problem. Or even before that, they said, oh, people did not trust hosts. That was the problem they found, which led to a great feature called um, host reviews. People can review the host they stayed with, and they can talk about it on the platform, and they can tell people, hey, this was an amazing stay. You know, Ronald or Sully took really good care of me, or really good care of the place. So it led to all sorting that problem. Another example is Intercom, that they discovered, oh wait, the product was actually not the problem, it was onboarding, right? They realized that people just didn't know how to learn to use the product. So the team was building features and building this great platform. And Sully here signs up, and I don't know where to click. And so they started finding that as the problem, and then solving for that within renowned onboarding, right? So it's all about finding the right problem, and you can only do that by being curious, right? If you're not curious and you don't care, your product discovery work, your problem finding work is not going to be strong. At my last startup, it's how I discovered, we were building products for YouTubers. We had built out an AI tool that we thought was going to be used by long form YouTubers. And then quickly looking into the metrics, we started to realize people were using it for short form content, right? And that was something we hadn't even thought about or fathomed. which again was maybe my fault as well for not being a better product manager and kind of thinking from that lens. So you might be wondering, okay, but what kind of a structure? How do I actually do this? Right? Don't worry, I can tell you what worked for me and what might be helpful for you as well. Like I said, the first point is sort of setting a block. It can be as small as a 30-minute block per day. And this could mean like watching a user session on replay. This could mean DMing a customer, messaging a customer, emailing a customer, or if you have a sales team, maybe asking them, or if you're a very small startup, exploring a Figma prototype. Like basically spend 30 minutes to just be curious about the business. Two is if you ever get on user calls or you get with users, use the 80-20 rules. If you're ever in an interview, a user interview, sorry, where you're helping folks out and trying to gauge if your hypothesis is correct, use the 80-20 rule. Try to speak as less as possible so you can get their opinion, right? That's why you want to talk to users, so that you can get them to speak, not you. And third is keep a very unstructured, like Google Drive folder or a Curiosity doc where you can just drop a bunch of things. It could be little screenshots, messages, emails, documents, and just call it like a discovery doc or a problem finding doc, and come to it for inspiration. And over time, you'll start seeing patterns. Over time, you'll start seeing what's worked, what hasn't worked, what are recurring themes, right? And I find that to be my superpower because, creativity blocks happen. And that's like a great thing to lean on. And so if you do have these practices down, right, like there is a reward as well. Not that you do it for reward, but the reward is you will get promoted faster. This is true. You'll become a stronger product manager than your peers, than the competitors, because you'll be thinking more outside the box. You'll ship things that people actually want and will use. You won't just ship or build a product that is just going to be built. You'll build a product that's actually valuable. And three, if you want to become a founder, you will become a better founder, right? You won't just have ideas. You're now validating these ideas. You're curious about the problem, right? It's a simple equation. Like if the problem is on the y-axis and the likelihood to solve the problem is on the x-axis, the more time you spend, right? The more time you spend, the more likely it is that you're gonna solve that problem. And the same applies here. And the great thing about this is this habit will compound, right? You do it daily for 30 minutes for 5 days a week. That's 2.5 hours, right? You learn something. Now, every decision you make going forward from those 2.5 hours of learning is now going to have this information in your brain when you're making that decision. You do it for 2 weeks, that's 5 hours. For 4 weeks, that's 10 hours. You now have 10 hours of extra knowledge to make a strategy decision about your business, about the product, about a feature. And that compounding effect will set you apart. So if you're a founder or if you're building a product, maybe start by asking yourself a question. What is one thing I don't understand about my user today? That's where I would start, and then go find out, right? Like and subscribe if this content is enjoyable at all. It helps the channel. Thank you so much.